They see you as small and helpless. They see you as just a child. Surprised when they find out that a warrior will soon run wild. Prepare for your greatest moments. Prepare for your finest hour. The dream that you've always dreamed is suddenly about to flower. We are lightning, flying from the thunder.
Hello, and welcome to the 5th show of the Whispering Dawn podcast. Well, it's been 5 already. We're fourth of the way through to our 20th episode, which we're going to go live. Yay! We are a Final Fantasy XIV podcast. We record almost every Sunday. There's some Sundays we don't, or sometimes they get lost. My name is Arthur Wyleth, and as always, I am joined by my lovely co-hosts, Gigantothies,
Heyo.
Dem Precox,
Hello.
Aerith Preverith,
Hello.
and if she can, Sira Faye will be joining us in a little bit. And as usual, you can reach us on Twitter at whispering_dawn. You can email us at thewhisperingdawn@gmail.com. And you can also reach us on Tumblr at thewhisperingdawn.tumblr.com. So how are you ladies doing today?
Pretty good.
I'm doing fabulous. I've had a really good few days, so I'm doing great.
Doing good.
That's good. I got some good news for you lovely ladies.
Let's hear it.
Do tell.
On top of our lovely listeners being able to get us on iTunes, they can now listen to us on Stitcher.
Sweet.
Woot.
Exciting.
And if any first-time listeners are listening, we actually got a contest going right now. On our 20th episode, we'll be giving away at least a $60 time card. More prizes might be announced here. I know Giganta was thinking about kicking something in.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're going to do that if we can get 100 followers.
I'm sorry.
He said it best.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Apparently
He
we're
should
not
be our
the ones excited
mascot.
for the contest. He only ones is. He's definitely the mascot. My little Lalafell's excited about the contest as well. So.
He is our honorary Lalafell.
Yes, he is. I don't know what we're gonna do once he's 8 or 9 and he's too tall to be a Lalafell. We'll glue a tail to him and make him a Makote.
Yeah, he just took a Fantasia and now he's something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I'm probably going to be kicking something in as well, just so we can have another prize. I'm going to be announcing that here in the next couple weeks, so.
Sweet. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing what you were plotting here.
Okay, and before we go any further, I do have a shout out to give because they kind of gave us a shout out on their podcast. So I want to give a shout out to Limit Break Radio. You did give us a shout out, even though I was kind of underhanded about getting that shout out. Yeah, but I do have to also give a shout out to Anero, who's actually the host of Limit Break Radio, because if it wasn't for his guidance, we wouldn't be here doing this podcast at the moment.
Woohoo! What's up?
Second that.
And actually, Dem, you got some news there too about a podcast you're going to be on.
Yes, and I don't have a whole lot of details yet, so I'll keep you guys posted. Within the next couple of weeks, I'll be doing a guest spot at least once, but probably occasionally guesting on a podcast that is run by a old friend of mine. And they were looking for a female presence to get on and talk about video games and some other content as well. So I will be absolutely keeping you all updated on when that's going to happen. The podcast that I am planning to guest on is called The Intestinal Fortitude, and I'll be sure to keep you guys updated on when that's going live.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Do we have any other news like that at all?
I wish.
Should I? Is there something I forgot? I forgot.
I'm getting my white mage tattoo in a month or so,
Oh,
Nice.
but that's about it.
I'm gonna spoil some of the stuff that I have planned right now to you girls. I am trying to get us on other platforms as well. Trying to get us on TuneIn, and if we can get the followers, I'm gonna try to get us on iHeartRadio.
Nice.
Would be awesome.
But like I said, we need the followers first and everything. We reached our 5th podcast, which is the minimum the podcast you need to get onto iHeartRadio. We just need the minimum followers now, which they suggest 100. So
All right. Well,
Let's do it.
everybody better get started promoting and get their friends listening and get the word out there. We'd love the help.
well, we'll see our listeners how many would go up or go down this week, because we have a very hefty subject to get through with today, and I mean a heavy subject. But before that, let's go over some stuff that we actually went over last week, but because we didn't have a full team, we didn't get some opinions here on some of the stuff, and that's the whole new patch 2.57.
Definitely loving forward to hearing what the other.
So, I mean, let's start with the simple thing, because I know both of you were doing some horse hunting or farming or whatever it's called. I call it horse hunting because that's exactly what you're doing. You're hunting some
It's
horses.
the pony farm.
Holy fun!
How are those musical themes going?
I am so excited about that. I was actually talking to an FC member about it a couple of days ago and how I really wanted them to implement something like that. And then they did.
I think it's pretty awesome. I started the pony farm maybe a week or two ago, and I'm down to my last pony, Shiva's, and it's pretty awesome. My favorite one so far is Titan. I love the music from Titan. So my order is Titan, Ruma, and then Shiva.
I'm a little jealous. I haven't started pony farming yet because I've been working on gearing my warrior. So,
What are you doing, damn?
jealous. Making sure that I'm, in the words of Thomas the Tank Engine, really, really useful.
Gotcha.
So if you don't have a kid, you don't have kids. I don't understand what that means.
I do. I do.
All right, I appreciate that. I'm trying to be as useful as I can. So now I have DPS, white mage, and a tank that I can bring to practically anything except about your very, very end game stuff.
See, you've got me a little beat on that. I have the healing and DPS down, but tank, I'm just going to reserve that for Dark Knight.
I wanted to figure it out before then, so that when I came into Dark Knight, I was ready to take it on and just be a boss at it. And I really do feel like I'm close.
Damn, you're kind of smart. Maybe I should do that.
Okay,
I have my moments.
The one thing I'll say about this, especially with the pony farm, and this is, I kind of thought, I didn't think of this myself. It was actually on a different podcast that I heard this, but this is actually a good way to implement a way for people to go back and get some of the older content. Because before this, how many people were actually pony farming?
I guess maybe depends on where you are in endgame content and what your goals are. I
Yeah.
have a lot of free company members that were really set on making sure that they have all the ponies before Heaven's Word drops. I was more set on making sure that I had as many classes leveled to 50 as possible. So that's been my focus point. But now that everybody's getting ponies, I'm a little jealous. So I'm gonna start pony farming. I, I am. I'm totally jealous. I want ponies. The white mage unicorn isn't quite enough for me.
Okay, now we're just going to go right into, because coil stuff is kind of boring, especially for me. But let's get into the juicy stuff here, and that's the Steps of Fate nerf. And just to remind the viewers out there and my lovely co-host what the nerf entails, Bishop's maximum HP has been reduced, the maximum HP of all enemies that spawn has been reduced, damage dealt by certain enemies has been reduced, damage dealt by Bishop's underfoot attack has been reduced, and damage dealt by Bertha cannons upon exploding has been reduced.
Of course, now that a crap ton of people went through it.
I'm not a fan. I don't think they should have nerfed it at all. And I think a lot of people now, especially now with Heaven's Word coming around, just want everything handed to them. Especially like new not really expansions, but new content and stuff like that. Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, well we can't clear it, and it's too hard." And it's not too difficult. You just need to get your asses like together and actually pay attention.
Yeah.
I agree.
We talked about it at length last week about why I felt as from perspective of developer, why they did that, and I thought it was a risk management type thing, a way to make sure that they retain the players that were casual, that were having the trouble getting it cleared. Because who's going to want to buy the expansion at $40, $60, or $130 when they can't even access it because they can't clear steps? And so I think for them it was maybe monetary risk.
Yeah.
So that's why they did it. But then, when we talked about it last week, I hadn't gone back into it since they had nerfed it. Since then, I've gone back in since they nerfed it, and it is way, way too easy. I mean, it's just, you don't even have to worry about the mechanics anymore. You can just literally just burn the boss all the way down and leave somebody at the beginning to grab the ads, and leave a healer there, leave a healer to go with the remaining party that goes with VShap, and you just burn them down, and it's done. So it really takes away from the elements that they worked hard to implement. A lot of those game mechanics, it doesn't even matter now. And so I understand why they did it, but I'm really disappointed in how much they nerfed it, because now, having gone through it, it's not even worth it anymore,
It's a shame that they did that because, I mean, there are a lot of parts of this game and any game you really pay where you're going to have mechanics and you're going to have things that you have to deal with, and you have to learn how to work with random people and, whether it's friends or whatever, um, work together, learn how to communicate. And that's one of those fights where it really took that. And people were having to be forced to be brought back down to the basics of communication, and they took it away.
Yeah, I think it was a little overboard. And I'm gonna kind of have to take back a little bit of what I said last week. I mean, I still kind of stand by that understanding from the developer point of not wanting to lose players, because if you don't beat steps, you can't access any of the content in the expansion. And I still stand by the fact that I feel this was a risk management decision by the developers to make sure they retain their player base. And I'm okay with that, but I feel like there's from a 0 to 10, they hit all the way to 10 on the nerf scale, and they really should have set it somewhere, a 4 to a 6, really, and a 6 is even pushing it. I really think that they overdid it because it's just take now, and it doesn't even matter. Mechanics are nothing, you know?
They seem to have a habit of doing that, though, going back and making things um, easier after a couple of people cry or complain about it. Just play the game, learn how to play it. And, I mean, I still play. I have a geared out character, and I go to Shiva and I cry half the time because, well, not literally, but because I'm pissed off because I may forget a mechanic or I may suck at something, but I still figure it out and go through it.
Well, that's the one thing that I've actually been doing lately is I've been actually going through my scholar and just learning some of the basic stuff that I probably should have learned when I was, you know, at a younger level, lower level. I'm learning to use macros for the first time, and I'm absolutely loving those. My healing
Oh,
has gone up a lot since then.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even want to talk about macros right now. Oh, so many jokes today.
I'd love to do them all, actually. I could use a laugh.
Okay. I made 2 emotes and 1 new res macro for my
I
summoners
want to hear it.
specifically.
I want to hear it. I would love to hear what your res macro is,
Very lewd, so I
I
will
love them.
just
clearly.
put it in TeamSpeak for now.
I love mine. Mine's just very simple. It's just my target's name and something about do not die yet. You still have more quests to do. It's actually from I don't know if you understand the reference there. It's from Borderlands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually do. And I would share mine, but it's also a little bit lewd. So I think I'll leave that and then let it go.
Oh, why don't you post it in TeamSpeak? And then she can share it with the podcast.
Let me.
I was gonna say you guys can just say it. I don't think we've ever decided that this is gonna be a PG podcast at all.
I hope not.
Cool with
Oh,
did you
I'm
that?
just very not good at saying lewd things out loud.
Um, my for my white mage, I don't know if I have a scholar because I don't use my scholar as much as I probably should. Mine says quickly now, and then it says target. You need to get up before the rigor mortis sets in.
That's
I mean,
good.
it's not food, but it's got a little dark humor in there.
Mine is very lewd.
And so I would love to see it. I can't wait.
I already posted it in the TeamSpeak chat.
That doesn't seem lewd at all. I'm sorry.
Maybe
I
it's
actually
my
like it.
SE.
It
No, that's
says
awesome.
resurrection. Who told you can stop? Get back to sucking.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That is a really good one.
I've seen some pretty good ones running through dungeons, and some of them just make me laugh.
If you're gonna have a macro set up like that, it can't be annoying. It's gotta be funny.
Yeah. My other one is stop being a ornament.
I like it.
So are we in agreement that then the nerf was too much and maybe they should have actually had something to entice people to go back and run it maybe? Maybe 2 triple triad cards or a minion or anything.
It would have been better if they would have just added, you get something out of it. Yeah, like minion,
Here,
triple
even
triad
just
card,
for glamour,
gear.
glam gear,
Yeah,
like they did with
something.
Odin.
Exactly. But I
Yeah.
mean, to nerf it and then you still don't get anything from it. All you did was basically now it's useless. Steps of Faith is useless at this point.
Except for
It's
just to
just you
finish
have no
story.
choice but to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that they really killed it, in a number of ways, and hopefully they learned by it, and we won't see that when it comes for the time to run Alexander, because a lot of people are really, really excited about that, myself included. And I really hope that it's not the same kind of thing.
I hope not.
Okay, we're gonna get into like the very serious portion of the show here, and I do have a warning before everybody listens to this from the end. I'm warning right now that the things we're going to be talking about is very sensitive, and I guess you can consider it, and I hate this term, but you can consider this a trigger warning right now. We are going to be talking about in-game harassment and just harassment in video games in general.
I definitely
And
certainly
this
have
is
some that I can tell.
Who wants to kick that one off?
Well, are we talking Final Fantasy specific here first, or are we going to branch out from specific to general, or vice versa? How do we want to tackle this today?
I think we should go from specific to general.
Okay. Well, I don't have anything that's happened in Final Fantasy. I mean, I've had some really rude people, and is it okay if, given the content, are we allowed to use words that are sensitive, or are we allowed to use curse words? Is that going to be okay for this discussion, or should I leave those out?
No, go ahead
No,
and
go
use them.
for it.
I already gave a
Okay,
warning saying that this is going to be a sensitive subject and everything,
okay.
so
I think the worst thing that happened to me in Final Fantasy really pales in comparison to a lot of the things that I've had happen in other games, particularly first-person shooters. The worst that's happened to me, really, and it's not even that bad. It's nothing relating to even to gender or anything. It's just a role. A long time ago, when I was first starting out, had a tank that was making it really, really hard on me as a healer, and a particular one. And he wasn't following mechanics because he didn't care. And he told me he didn't care about the mechanics. And, I said, look, it's, what you're doing is making it really hard on me. So can you just, do me a favor and, not do that? I really appreciate it. And it was like all of a sudden this switch snapped in him, and he said, you know what, just shut the fuck up and heal. Fucking healer.
Oh
And I was
God.
just like, oh, okay. And we ended up dismissing him because I was like, you know what, I'm not going to be treated like that. And there's been a few other scattered instances, but that was definitely by far the worst. And I haven't really had very, well, you know what? Actually, I have had one really awful experience that definitely trumps that. I needed to get one of my FC members a clear in Titan EX, and we put out up a party finder, and there was a particular person that joined. And you know how you can kind of sometimes tell you've seen that person around hanging out in Mordona, and you just kind of know that person is already going to give you a hard time. They're going to troll, and they're going to give you shit. And we let it get in, and what happened is I was putting my son down for a nap, and so we queued for the duty. We got in and we wiped. No big deal. I said, you know what? Hey, I need just a second or so that I can set my son down. He's asleep in my lap, and I just need to put him down on the couch. And I quote, person goes, "What the fuck, healer?" It was, if you're a mom, you don't need to play games. What are you, some lame mom gamer? And then he proceeded to say things like, I'm a piece of shit for
Wow.
that, I'm a bad mother for gaming with my son, and that I shouldn't be allowed to play video games if I have a child, because if I'm gaming while my son is in my presence, that makes me a bad person. And it really kind of struck me like, whoa, wait a minute. That's kind of rude. All I asked to do was set my kid down. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's going to take me 15 seconds to get up off the couch, put him on the other side of the couch, and then I'm back there and I'm good to go. It's just easier for me to type if I don't have a kid on my lap. And I think that was, I think, the worst case I would say of Final Fantasy harassment that I've experienced. And it's still kind of like I'm over it, but it was really like it pissed me off. And then, on beyond that, half of the group that was in there was my free company, and the guy was really lucky that I lost it on him. I mean, I really did, and I'm not going to repeat what I said, but he's really lucky that my husband wasn't in there, and that there are a couple of people that are in my free company that I've been gaming with since I started on my server, that I've actually become personal friends with. We've shared Facebook names, and we're actually friends on Facebook. And, we've actually become long distance friends. I have a bond with these people, and they weren't there. And, I say that he's probably really lucky that they weren't there too. Things that they would have said to him, I don't think it would have been that good. So maybe they should have been, and maybe he could have taken it a little bit harder than what I gave it to him. But yeah, that was my worst experience.
He sounds like a douche who probably had mommy issues.
Probably. I'm pretty sure he's living in his mom's basement, and he's 17 or 24 with the mind of a 17-year-old. But I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Biased, of course,
No,
because of the
sounds
things
spot
he said to
on.
me. Yeah.
Okay,
But
I'm
that's
sorry.
it, yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off there.
No, that's fine.
We did get a email on this subject.
Oh.
I put
I
off
really want to hear
feelers.
this.
I put out feelers on the Facebook group that we met. I've also put feelers on Tumblr and also on Twitter for people to email us stories, and only one person responded. I think it's because I didn't give everybody enough time. A couple days is not a good, a lot of time and
Well,
everything.
and this is a hard subject for people to straight up
Eh,
openly talk about, and I can understand with
Yeah,
it.
because it's not always black and white. There's such a big gray area for this.
Exactly.
And I'm going to preference, this is a long email, so.
Okay, let's hear it. I would absolutely love to hear it.
Go for
And
it.
I'm not going to give out the person's name because they did ask me to keep it anonymous, so. Hello. I am a cis white male who shouldn't have to say that, and who has played video games my entire life, from my dad's old college Atari system to play Pong, my first personal system, the NES, to the internet age with the online gaming and MMOs. In my lifetime experience, I've seen the abuse of others and myself. But first and foremost, both were on Final Fantasy XIV, which is shocking to me, as I've played Halo Reach and 4, Team Fortress 2, Counter-Strike, City of Heroes, Final Fantasy XI, and EverQuest a lot, not to mention a good number of other online games in passing, and to reiterate that this is to myself and others, including women in gaming. Most recently, I was the unintentional listener to horrific verbal threats and abuse of the fellow raider's wife, who was also happened to game in Final Fantasy XIV. It was horrendous. His wife had forgotten to get something at the grocery store, and over a voice chat program, I overheard him berate and threaten to curb stomp his wife 3 or more times, followed by the message of threatening to turn off the voice chat and, as his voice dipped below what the microphone could pick up. No, that's harsh right there. And then, okay, so, the one time I've ever been harassed was in week 1. I was doing the storyline quest, which brought me to a church, where the 2 guys decked in tank gear were waiting. As every female character showed up, they would do a macroed emotes, and where they would public thrust repeatedly at any female that showed up. Having recreated my Mithra character from 11, I was playing a female character as well, so I was a target. In the first incident, at that point that the statements were made, with my raid group over voice chat, the raid group fell apart instantly. People on the link shell vacated as the owner was away for an extended period of time and could not kick the guy from the shell. The person has now left the server, and all I can do is hope as the guy's wife leaves him properly, and that help set her way with reporting of the incident does some good. In the second incident, it is well known that there are more boys and men in these games, as is an ongoing meme that there are no women on the internet as a result. I assume that boys know this and merely trolling in a very uncouth way, making both males and females with female characters feel uncomfortable. So in the end, I can see that while things might be getting worse over time, and that is maybe, but that is the vast majority of people who do not perform. I think it's supposed to be, but that the vast majority of people do not perform or condone these actions, and gamers as a whole will ostracize viciously those who have. In fact, most women in gaming seem overly welcome to the scene, even in Halo. So I do have to lean in the crowd from my experience that this issue is being hyped up by those who have something to gain from the situation and abuse the goodwill of others as well as those with real issues. I apologize to those who have, and I'm sure that those out there, however, in my life experience, even when playing a female character, I have not seen it. And that's the end of the email right there.
Huh. Well, there was like several different things going on there.
Yeah, definitely.
As far as the wife and husband situation, um, that goes way deeper on their side than just a game. There's nothing anybody personally can do about that. I mean, I personally game with my husband. My husband sits right next to me. We've been married almost 12 years now. We have two children. Uh, uh, we do our family thing. We have our thing, which is gaming. My husband has never ever berated me like that. And, any couple gets in arguments, that's fine. There's a limit to what should ever be said or any threats. That's not a relationship. Um, but I mean, for decency's sake, if they're going to have some kind of an argument, they shouldn't involve the whole world. But he probably left that on microphone just to put her, what he feels to put her in her place, and make her extremely comfortable just to go back into the game. Um, that's a whole issue that it's I don't think anybody here or anywhere can really touch on much because I mean, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors there. And it doesn't sound like anything good is going on. And I mean, I hope and wish the best for them. And I hope she figures out that any guy that can talk to you or treat you like that is not worth it. Move on and find somebody who can, treat you with decency and respect. As far as in game, dealing with people who are douches, or, a lot of males play female characters. Um, and a lot of females will play male characters too. I think most females will probably play a female character, but some of them may do a male character. You do come across a lot of idiots, a lot of people who, for lack of a better word, are just a bunch of juveniles. They have nothing better to do, and they probably have never really seen a girl, not even naked. So, they'll look at the cartoons. Um, it's it's such a strange and difficult subject to deal with. Um, Guys are douches sometimes, but girls are too. We want to be treated the same, but the second one curse word is uttered, sometimes some females fall apart.
I
You know,
kind of,
I really, yeah.
I, I
Go
do
ahead. You
agree
go
with
ahead
that.
first.
Yeah.
Like, I do agree with you there, but there's been
I
cases where people would log on, and people. I mean, I've just seen it. I haven't witnessed it myself in this game, where people would come into the game and people would be talking to these characters and being like, "Won't you strip down to your clothes and dance?" And or I'll give you money if you do this. In-game money, that is, if you do
Do you know what?
this.
Those are a bunch of trolling idiots. At the end of the day, you're going to choose what you're going to let a game, a person you don't know, how you're going to let them affect you. You either just piss off and ignore them. At some point, they're gonna be like a toddler. They're gonna get bored. Notice there's no attention going to them, and they'll move on to somebody who's willing to, get offended and, get mad, and they're just stoking that fire. Personally, me, if somebody's acting like an idiot and saying stupid things, I ignore them. Sometimes you may hit a nerve, and I have absolutely no problem telling you the fuck off. None. If I have to, I will. But it
Yeah.
still goes back to, if you are going to dish it, you need to take it. If you're going to get offended and you want to say something, don't say something, and then when now they've replied, then you're going to get butt hurt. It's a game. Half of these actually, very few of these people in real life or become friends with. Go in the game, do what you want to do, and enjoy. That person's going on the game, they want to troll, they want to be a dick, they want to make someone's life misery because they're probably living in their mom's basement and have nothing better to do in life, or they just play with themselves half the time.
Really, for lack of a better statement, I definitely agree. And I think a lot of it, lack of, and you have to take it in the context of who I am as a person, given the fact that, I do have a bachelor's in psychology and a minor in sociology. A lot of this is cultural, and a lot of media relations with people, and you can bring it in the context of cyberbullying happens not only with those who are juvenile, but also those that are adults, because you sit behind a screen, a computer screen, and that takes away the consequence of harassing somebody and saying these things to them, because you're not doing it in their face. And so it's easier for people to say these terrible things to others and do the things that they do over a game, because there's no real life consequence for it, because all they got to do is log off. It's not there anymore. And it's unfortunate, and to expect that everybody is going to believe in the common good of man and to treat one another with kindness. It's not always going to be that way. And there's a multitude of deep, heavily seated issues in society, westernized society, as well as any modern society. You're going to see problems like this. You will see problems like this in face-to-face interactions as well as in-game interactions. But I think in in-game interactions, there's less fear of repercussion, less fear of retaliation from another person, because what is that person going to do? They're going to say, oh, I'm going to kick your ass. Well, how am I going to do that when you're 5,000 miles away from me? I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to drive over and I'm going to punch you in the face for the rude thing you said? No, I'm not going to do that. So there's less risk, less, risk for people to
Exactly. That was well said.
really understand what has happened to particularly the woman in the email that this individual sent to us. The first thing, harassment in video games, I wouldn't consider necessarily the first incident with the wife and the husband as necessarily in-game harassment. I would consider that as a domestic, and not to take it in context because I don't know the situation, in the very least, verbal abuse and threats within a marital relation. And that's something that goes beyond video games. But within video games in particular, there's less consequence because there is no fear that somebody's going to show up at your doorstep and want to hurt you there, because you're faceless when it comes to reality. Faceless, you're nameless, and you can say and do things to people without consequence. And I think that leaves people who want to hurt others for whatever reason that may be, and there are a multitude of issues that could bring somebody to act that way. Doesn't make it okay. I don't do those kinds of things, but people do. And it's going to happen more on video games than it is in real life, because you don't have to worry about somebody showing up at your doorstep to hurt you.
Exactly.
The thing that I kind of see, and I'll get into my own stories.
Giganta, floor is yours.
Oh no, I completely agree with what you ladies are saying. Like entirely. The issue with what was going on with the wife, it is very domestic. And I mean, I've seen a lot of LGBTQ guilds recently as well, which kind of goes into what he was saying about being cis. It really shouldn't matter. I mean, you can be whatever you want to be.
It will.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I've been through it all. I've been braided about my waist on TeamSpeak. I've been braided about my waist on other video games.
Shouldn't.
And I mean, it shouldn't be a thing. It's gender and what your sexuality is and stuff like that. Anything like that shouldn't matter. You're sharing a hobby
Exactly.
with a bunch of other people, and really, why would you let something like that affect like your how much fun you're having with somebody?
It just seems to be a and I'm not going to get into like the particulars on this emo because I kind of agree with everything that's been said so far. But this seems to be getting, I don't know if it's worse or better, but it just seems to be getting something.
I think
I don't think doing anything really. I don't think that it's getting any better. And go ahead and you take your turn, and then I'll ask your question, or I'll ask my question of you guys. So,
honestly, I
floor is
think
yours.
it's getting better. It's getting in terms it's getting better because a lot of the time beforehand, I know it would just be people being very serious about it, where they would be, oh yeah, do this, do that. And I mean, I used to have people do that on like back whenever I was like 14, and I'd have guys way older than me asking me like, hey, show me this, show me that. And it would go a lot farther than into video games, and it's kind of like, you're triple my age, you need to stop. And it's just, it's
Right.
not reaching as far as it used to anymore. I mean, there certainly are cases that do, but it's more
Right.
people are trolling now than anything. People are trying to get a rise out of other people because they know that it affects people.
Yeah. You know what? I think you're definitely onto something there. And I can think about, when I think about the way that I was treated in video games, 5 to 10 years ago when I was playing like first person shooters versus now. I think that there's been some effort within the female gaming community, as well as when you look at it, just to put it in a shorter term, the queer community. Your Everybody plays video games. It doesn't matter whether you're a male or you're a female or you're lesbian, you're gay, you're bisexual, you're transsexual, you're pansexual, you're whatever. It doesn't matter. Everybody of those types of people, they can all play video games. It doesn't matter. But you're going to still have people who are going to feel the need to say something about it. And like I said before, I feel like people say those things just because they think it's easier for them to harass people over the internet than it is for them to harass them face to face.
Definitely.
And there's one thing I want to clear up too, and that's the definition of harassment, because I think that has a lot to do with it too, because everybody defines it a little bit different. I know for me, if I tell you to stop and you continue, that's harassment. If I don't say anything and I'm joking back, to me that's not harassment.
Well, you're right. Harassment is
Yeah.
different for everyone. Everyone takes it a little bit differently because everybody has a different level of, how do you say, a different tolerance level of what they're able to take. Just like it's a certain level of what you can dish. Um, what I may be able to take may not be something Dem or Giganta can take, and maybe they can deal with something that I can't. It's different. But like Dem said, just it doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is. It doesn't matter what your gender is. It should only matter that you're all on game for one thing. You're playing the game and it's supposed to be a place where you enjoy. For some people it's an escape. It's where they can get to, and it's, it's a calm place. It's something that they enjoy doing. Why would we do this if we didn't enjoy it? So why do you have to bring in what your gender is? I can DPS just as good as a guy. There's guys that can heal just as good as a girl. There's no gender based role. So just enjoy the game and move on with your lives.
Oh, and I wish that I could say that it was going to be like that, but just knowing what I know about culture and a lot of the deep-seated prejudices and biases that we're surrounded with every day of our lives, those things are going to bleed into every aspect of your life.
Oh, of course, always. But then there are some of them,
Fortunate.
like I would say us, that we're probably the type of chicks that can rise above that kind of stuff. It'll get to us sometimes. It'll annoy us. That guy that had all those comments to say to you as far as you being a mom and gaming, you know, those are two completely different things. What you decide to do on your downtime, that's you. You're entitled, even as a mother, to have your
And
own peace of mind and downtime. Who is anybody to tell you that you're an unfit mom because you game? That's untrue. They don't know your life. They don't know you.
well, and I really feel like that, and I thought about it, in a sense of, well, at least I'm, not out slinging crack. I mean, for lack of a better way
Exactly.
to say it, and that's not me trying to be rude or crass or anything, and I am a good mother, and there's always room for improvement. But I think that, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, there's going to be harassment. There's always going to be harassment. I've been
There's
harassed in Call of Duty and Halo
I
for
think there's always
female.
going to be that. I mean, and you've done first person shooter games. I don't do shooter games. Just because I really truly suck at them. My husband does, and I hear when they're talking sometimes, and that's some rough shit when they talk. But if
Really
you're
is.
stepping in and you're playing, as long as you can handle the game and you can dish it as well as they give it, and you know what to expect when you go into it, then you're good. It's no different in any game. You're going to expect when you play a game with this many people that are going on that you're going to have your assholes. You're going to have your sexist people. You're going to have your sexual predators. You're going to have just like you encounter anywhere from Facebook to anything, you're going to have many different types of people who come to the game for many different reasons, not just to play. So you can't expect to get into an MMO and not expect to have these kind of people. They don't just disappear because you're in a game. You deal with it in real life, you're going to deal with it here too.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very poignant statement, and I definitely think that you put it very well to say that, no matter what, you're going to deal with these people, regardless of whether you're going into a video game or you're just going to the store or you're crossing the street. These things are going to happen no matter what. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. And I think that sometimes, though, it's just easier for people to be more brutal and more ruthless and meaner consequences.
It is, and it goes back to
And
what you say. They're faceless, they're nameless. You don't know if
yeah,
that person that's raging on you in the game has such a crappy situation at home and they have nowhere else to let it out other than when they get on game. We don't know what these people's where their psyche is, what's going on. It's very touchy and it's very hard to deal with that. For the most part, if someone's acting dumb, I don't always say something. There have been times that I have. My husband is the type person who, he's more of a everything is black and white to him. You're either doing what you're supposed to do or you're not. And I've gamed right next to him where he's running a dungeon and he'll tell somebody, you're doing this wrong. If you do it like this, this will happen and somebody will get pissed off. It's your first time tanking. He's an experienced tank. He's giving you advice. You know, people get pissed off. They say something stupid. He'll shoot right back at them.
Really see, but I think that there's a difference between something like that happening and someone personally attacking somebody for who they are, either in game or if someone allows themselves a piece of who they are outside of game to be shown. Um, and that's a scary thing.
Yeah, but I
Versus
think
yourself.
for some people, to them, that's harassment. Some people don't like to go into the game and, whether they're just starting to level or they're getting adjusted to a class, and they don't like somebody to tell them what they should do or how they should do something, and they consider that harassment.
Yeah. Self. See, and I don't like anybody to tell me what to do when I'm in game. You know what? As long as I'm
See?
doing, worry about yourself. You worry about. But I don't consider that harassment. What I consider harassment is the situation that I had where somebody personally attacked me for my own life choices when I did nothing to provoke that. All that I did was ask if I could set my kid down, and instantly it automatically set this person off. Well, what the fuck, healer? You shouldn't be playing if you're a mother and you're a crappy parent. Well, I'm sorry, but you don't know the first thing about who I am as a parent, and I don't think you're really in a position to tell me what I should or should not be doing with my life. And I think for me, there's a fine line between that, and I think a lot of it is how it's said. And I can offer advice and I can tell people if they want help, I will give them as much help as I can, and that's not harassment to me. Harassment to me is attacking somebody's personal character ruthlessly, insulting them, just being awful. That to me is what I consider harassment.
I I've seen it in dungeons and in games. I've seen people go off on people for, just small details, very similar to yours, not as bad. I mean, I couldn't have been a random person in that group and stood by and listened to that, not just because I am a wife, because I am a mother, because I do game and I am a mother. That doesn't, being a mom is an awesome job. It's not just a job, it's your life, but that's not all of who you are. It's the most important part,
Exactly.
but you still are a human. You're still you. You still want to have some fun too. All work and no play.
Now,
Yeah.
the one question
I
I do
have to laugh. I'm sorry. As I'm saying this, my husband walks in the room and starts laughing because he's hearing me and he says, "Make me a sandwich."
Jeez.
That's his way of just, just being silly. But he does that every time if we talk about anything like this. He'll walk in and he'll say, "Make me a sandwich."
now the one thing I do want to know is how much has this like just been like gaming culture from the beginning anyway? Because a lot of people when they start gaming, get the whole noob thing and get attacked and everything like that, and they learn to deal with it. And then when people come in, they do the same thing to them because that's how they were treated when they first got in. Is that a cycle that can be like like stopped, or is it just
I don't
something
think that'll
that's
ever stop. That's never gonna stop. I don't think so. It's to me, it's not as bad in Final Fantasy as it is in other games. Um, I played World of Warcraft, but not as heavy as my husband, and I hated it because I mean, you couldn't really enjoy the game without some idiot coming and constantly killing you, for nothing. Like you have nothing better to do in their life than to just kill you. And you actually get to enjoy Final Fantasy. You get people saying shit, but they're not killing you, and you can progress and just ignore them and be about your day.
I do feel that it's not as bad as I do in some of the other games, and if it's okay with you guys, maybe we can branch out into my experience within first person shooters, and maybe this was part of what I still really enjoy those types of games. I'm really good at them,
I wish I
and
was.
a lot of fun. Fun, dude. Getting drunk with my husband and sitting there and playing Call of Duty, as he calls it, shooting faces, is one of my favorite things to do. It's for us to bond. It is, but I used to get on headset, and the second I would talk, is that a girl? Oh my God, are you a girl or are you a 12-year-old boy? No, I'm a girl. Oh, well then I bet you're fat and ugly. Actually, no. Um, I'm not. And first of all, that's relative interpretation, of what your definition of beauty is. But as far as society is concerned, based on societal standards, generally, no, I'm not. My own opinion of how I look, considering I sit on my ass and I play video games all day, I'm pretty damn hot, considering I've had a baby and I play video games all day. And, I would say something like that, and they're like, no, you're full of shit. You are a virgin, you're lonely, fat, and you're ugly, and you suck at life, and you should just go kill yourself right now. Whoa.
Wow.
Oh, wait a minute. That's a little uncalled, to or attack my personal self-esteem just because I was a female playing Call of Duty or I was a female playing Halo. What is the fact of how I identify myself as my own gender? How does that play into my ability to play a video game? Doesn't. But I definitely think that there's a prejudice there, and a biasy and a stigma against maybe female gamers or gamers who are not the and I hope that nobody takes this in the wrong way, the heterosexual male.
You
Because
know,
if you're considered either a woman or they're a, you know,
for any of the people that
go
are
ahead.
listening, I'm sorry, to any of the people who are listening to this podcast and our wonderful growing group of followers, I will send you this question, males, females, and please email, respond in any way possible. Um, do you think that there is a drastic difference between the way a girl plays and between the way a guy plays? Because if you don't, why does it matter? Why do guys get so hung up when they find out it's a girl playing? Like, are we supposed to take out needle and thread and start cross stitching or making tapestries? Are we, what is it that they're thinking that we're going to sit there and do? Are we going to be getting them their slippers? We're in a complete different time, where women are able to do so many wonderful things, yet a gaming community, which is supposed to be a community that's a lot more open minded, seems to be a lot close minded, very close minded when it comes to gaming and females still.
Um, I hope our followers do email this, but I can speak from a unique position. Um, I am tapped into geek culture through my YouTube channel and through like Twitter and stuff. And I've been covering a certain hashtag that I'm not going to name because I just don't want to name it anymore. And one of the prevailing thoughts that's coming through is that the reason that this is still a problem with, especially with like females getting into any facet, be it video games, be it comic books, be it anything that has to do with geeks and their culture and gaming and stuff like this, is that the fact is there somebody coming in to what they perceive to be their space and trying to change it on them. That seems to be my interpretation of what's going on, is that these people are coming in, whether they be, newbie players and stuff like that, and telling these veterans, for, these are just lack of better terms right now, that this needs to change because we're trying to get more people into this thing, and a lot of us don't want to be in this because you're doing this, this, and this. And there's one very important thing that I've actually, an adage that I've known from, especially being in geek culture, is that most people, especially geeks, are afraid of change. And that's what's happening a lot, is they're starting to see change and they don't want it. They want to go back to where, at one time that it was, considered a male thing to do, is to play video games, is to read comics and stuff like that. You can even see it in like movies right now, where a lot of like the action heroes are your typical guy, instead of these kick butt females like we had with like Ripley from Aliens, or Katniss Everdeen from Hunger Games. That's just my
My favorite
interpretation, though.
movie series, favorite book series. Yeah.
And that definitely makes me think a lot about it, that you think about breaking gender stereotypes. And I did a lot of study on gender when I was in college, and it's something that really interests me, especially now, particularly as I spend more time learning about the people that are around me, and the friends that I've had for a long time, friends choosing to come out as gay or lesbian, or whatever the case is. I mean, there's a whole slew of gender and sexual identifications out there that a lot of people don't even know about, and I feel needs to be respected. And you're probably right in that, but for me, it's kind of hard to sit down and understand the perspective of somebody who wants to keep it the same, that this was a dominated by a particular class within society. Because I grew up playing video games. I mean, I was 6 years old playing Nintendo, and I was playing Double Dragon,
Yeah.
and I was playing Mortal Kombat and Doom. And I grew up playing those things, and so it was always part of who I was. And I didn't really realize until I got older, and I would sit down and play some of the first person shooters, which I would say a lot of those are more male dominated than maybe the Final Fantasy community, and maybe that's why I experienced more negativity within that strata than I do within Final Fantasy. And maybe that's why I'm happier in Final Fantasy, was because I got tired of experiencing that kind of hate. And I never really played sports as a kid, and I have never tried to go into a situation where maybe I have. I can liken this to my taste in music has always been metalhead. I love metal. My favorite band, my husband's favorite band, when it comes down to it, it is always going to be Slipknot. And we've always been into core metal, deathcore, metalcore, the whole stratum. And when I was growing up, and I was a teenager, my best friend, who was a very small girl, I mean, 95 pounds, and I would shows. And you would always see difference between those girls that wanted to get in the pit and the guys. And there were always guys that would be gentle and they'd always be respectful. But then you had these people who are like, you know what, you don't belong here. And maybe it's the same thing, the same reason that you see that kind of attitude within gaming, because it all comes down to what people feel should be defined by gender and sexual identification, and what those roles of how you identify yourself or how others identify you as, I guess you could say, bleed into every aspect of your life, what you should be doing as a male or a female, or as a straight person or a gay person or a pansexual, how you need to behave based upon who you are, within your own personal identification, or how others look at you and see you. And someone can look at me and see my character, who is a female character who I have glamored to be very effeminate, very pretty, but also very powerful, and how that shapes their own perspective of the person behind the controller, the person behind the keyboard. And I assume, just like it does within life in general, there's going to be an ebb and flow of change. And it can probably go either way. But I hope that it goes the way of acceptance, for everybody just being who they want to be in game.
You would think, in general, the wonderful geek nerd community, and I use that term with affection because to me that they're awesome. They've always been the kind that they've gone through so much and
And
so many people who don't accept them. You would think this type of community and gaming community would be more accepting of things. We are usually the kids who had a rough patch. Some of us didn't. Some of us were cool and we had no problems and we just tend to like games. But either way, we're used to be the kind of people that were just a little bit more accepting when you play games. We're not in the norm just by playing games when I was younger. Um, Now it's, pretty common. Everybody plays a darn game, so you'd think it would be less strange to have a female play.
I think so, but then again, I don't, because I look at what I've studied as far as how people are in modern society, and something that's going to take time to change. It's just like letting girls play football. It's going to take time for that to be something that's acceptable in society. I'm not saying that that's how I feel personally. I'm saying that that's what, from things that I studied and researched, kind of how it is right now. And it's going to get better if people push for it and they want it to get better, it will.
We need to find an awesome female superhero and make Hollywood make a fantastic movie around females only.
I'm a big fan of Black Widow, so
Oh, she's beast.
yeah, I'm just saying, I love Superman.
Well, there's a couple coming out. I mean, they're doing Captain Marvel, which is one of the biggest female characters right now in comics.
They're doing Supergirl. Has anybody seen the trailer for that?
I love it.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, I know it's off topic, but my husband showed it to me the other day and it was fantastic.
I haven't seen it yet,
The only
but
thing that I did not like, I love the trailer. Don't get me wrong. I love the correct trailer and everything. But then, on my Facebook, when my friends posted this thing with, they cut it out, a lot of the parts where, she's talking to her boss and everything, and cut it down to just the action sequences in there to try to make it more palatable for I guess male viewers or whatever. But I love the general regular trailer of that.
I haven't seen it, so I won't be able to really personally comment on it too much. However, what I can say though is I don't know if anybody has seen any kind of discussion about a lot of the discontent that is happening with a lot of the new Avengers Age of Ultron swag toys. Black Widow was really cut out of a lot of it.
Yeah, I noticed that. I've seen
Yeah.
some of the discussions on that.
And it
And then,
really
one
bums
of
me out.
and then one of the famous iconic scenes from the movie, where she's coming out of the Quinjet on her motorcycle for the toy line. They put Captain America in that instead of her.
Yeah, and I was really kind of bugged by that, because you know what? Girls love superheroes too.
Hell yeah.
And it just kind of bummed me out that it seems like she was so incredibly overshadowed, and it obviously isn't her presence within the Avengers. I mean, you can't say that Hawkeye had any more than she did, um And I have to feel like, in a way, that maybe it's because she's a woman.
Well, that's how most of us will feel. I mean, that's what I feel.
So,
But this is just like just general trends and and thing, and then every time, and this is what I've seen like on Twitter, and I know Twitter is like the garbage of the internet besides Reddit or 4chan or 8chan or whatever. Is a lot of people are coming against this kind of stuff anymore. DC announced a line for young girls, and all of a sudden the backlash started against that, saying, "Well, why don't you have a line for young boys?" And it's like, well, because they already have a line.
right, right. Well, but then even all of the line that they came out with for girls, it's all guys on there on the shirts. It's all the male superheroes.
Exactly.
You know,
Well, I'm talking about this is DC's decision to actually market to girls, and they're using a lot of their female superheroes and villains like Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn and Batgirl and those kind of people to actually start producing a line with I think it was either Hasbro or Mattel or one of the toy lines. It's not going to come until like 2016, but at least they're taking that step now and announced it.
Yeah,
And
but they've got to bring those characters back out to the forefront where kids, you know, I would say anything under, dare I say, under 18, I guess, or 19, knows who those characters are. They may know them, but do they have such a deep appreciation for them that they'll buy their shirts? You have to include these characters in these movies and bring them out and show them that, females do have powerful roles also.
and speaking from somebody that's like I said in geek culture, I'm you know part of my YouTube channel I dedicate to comic books and stuff like that, and I can actually say a resounding yes to your question there. There are enough females that buy the books that would love to have these characters to play with or to, buy a t-shirt for.
bummer.
Some of the best-selling comic books right now, and I can tell this with like really thing, are comic books like Batgirl, which is selling pretty good. Squirrel Girl, which has been every single issue that's come out has have had like two or three printings of. Spider Gwen, which is a female take on Spider Man, with Gwen Stacy would have been bitten instead of Peter Parker, has had multiple prints. The new Thor, which is female, has had multiple reprints, have sold out. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but
these.
they're taking a lot of these characters that were predominantly, that they were a male character, like take Thor. Okay? I don't want to see a female reenact Thor. Why can't we have original females? Like Wonder Woman, original females characters and different, different kind of roles, not just okay, we want girls to like this. Let's take a character that everyone knows and loves and, what if it was a female? Not saying that the story wouldn't be unique, wouldn't be cool, but wouldn't it also be just as awesome to make a powerful female base on just their story, not backbiting off of someone else's?
A lot of these people that's backed by these kind of, and female Thor is a different issue altogether. Um, but people like Batgirl, who's Barbara Gordon, has actually stepped out of the shadows of Batman, where she was like a minor role to for years, and has taken the forefront. Same thing with like Batwoman and like Black Canary. You mentioned Wonder Woman, and yes, she's very iconic. But look how she's portrayed in like media and like movies. The whole big selling point for I guess either her own movie or for the Batman v Superman movie that's coming out was that she had 5 different costumes.
I don't see why that would matter.
Yeah.
But since then we've had for the the Wonder Woman movie, we've had, directors quit and not even want to do it anymore because of just prevailing insights for like, institutions like movies and, stuff that's slow to react to natural trends.
You know what? Make a movie about Black Widow, her story, and everything. I'll watch it.
Oh yeah, over and over. I will buy it.
And she is an original character. She has her own storyline. She has her own plot. She has her own, her own thing in it, and it is awesome. And they just, oh my God, there's so many
Well,
characters that could be come to the forefront that they don't. Even with X-Men, don't. I'm not even gonna start on X-Men.
Okay.
well, ladies, I'm starting to get tired. I'm starting to get tired.
We kind of got off track there too, so
That's okay. We
um,
said we were going to talk about it in general, and we kind of did. So,
Yeah, we did.
is there anything else anybody wants to add real quick?
I'm okay.
Mhm. Dem, you need to go get some sleep.
Sorry. Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm guess we're just gonna stop this for now. We may pick this up in the future just to talk about it some more. Especially since Sierra said she was really looking forward to this, so maybe we'll revisit this later.
Oh, maybe we'll get some more emails or, some some more questions, comments, or, anything from any of our listeners, and we can include that in the show.
Absolutely.
But I'm just to tell everybody, please email us, follow us on Twitter, do all this stuff. Just be awesome to us, and hopefully you liked. If you're a first time viewer listener, hopefully you're got a good opinion, and you want to write in, or even tweet us, and just say something.
Please do. We want to hear from you.
We ain't shy. We try not to bite.
Try.
We like hearing from our followers and from our listeners and stuff like that.
So I'm gonna say my goodbye right now, and as usual, I always let my co-host here have the final word. So I'm gonna go. You ladies go ahead and say whatever you want, and I'll see everybody next week.
Now, don't everybody go all at once now.
Yeah, it's like we always have this issue.
We should assign one,
Bye.
2, and 3.
Okay.
The
All right.
mechanics of podcasting.
Oh, jeez.
Bye, everybody. Okay. All right. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Good night, everyone. See you next week.
Good night, everyone. See you next week.